Miss Garnet's Angel by Salley Vickers. Read by Massey. Death is outside life, but it alters it. It leaves a hole in the fabric of things, which those who are left behind try to repair. Perhaps it is because of this we are minded to feast at funerals, and it is said that certain children are conceived on the eve of a departure, lest the separation of the partners be permanent. When in ancient stories heroes die, the first thing their comrades do, having made due observances to the gods, is sit and eat. Then they travel on, challenging, with their frail vitality, the large enigma of non-being. When Miss Garnet's friend Harriet died, Miss Garnet decided to spend 6 months abroad. For Miss Garnet, who was certainly past childbearing years and had lost the only person she ever ate with, the decision to travel was a bold one. Her expeditions abroad had been few, and for the most part tinged with apprehension. As a young woman straight from college, she had volunteered, while teaching the 100 Years' War, to take a school party to Cressy. On that occasion, she had become flustered when, behind her back but audibly, the boys had mocked her accent and had intimated that she had brought them to France in order to forge a liaison with the sweating, white-faced coach-driver. "Mademoiselle from Armentières," they had sung in the back of the coach. "Mademoiselle from Armentières hasn't had sex for 40 years." Essentially a shy person, her impulses towards cordiality with her pupils were dealt a blow. She withdrew, acquired a reputation for strictness, and in time became the kind of teacher who, if not loved, was at least respected. Julia Garnet and Harriet Josephs had lived together for more than 30 years. Harriet had answered Julia's advertisement in the National Union of Teachers' monthly journal. Quiet, professional female, sought to share small West London flat. No smokers, no pets. Harriet had been the only person to respond to the advertisement, which had not prevented Julia from giving her what her friend later described as a toughish interview. "Honestly," Harriet had used to say, on the few occasions when together they had entertained, "it was worse than the time I tried to get into the civil service." Generally, Harriet had laughed loudly at this point in a way her flatmate had found irritating. Now Miss Garnet found she missed the laugh, just as she missed Stella, Harriet's cat. The prohibition against pets had been relaxed 7 years earlier, when Harriet had been followed from the station by Stella, a black kitten with a white-starred throat. Stella had grown into an elderly and affectionate creature, but it was Harriet to whom the cat had remained attached. 2 days after they had both retired, they had arranged the events to coincide, Julia returned from the shops to find her companion apparently asleep, stretched out upon the sofa, her romantic novel face down on the carpet. Later, after the doctor and then the undertaker had been, Stella disappeared. A kind of numbness had subsequently dulled Miss Garnet's usual caution, and she found herself, before she was quite aware what was happening, calling in on one of the numerous local estate agents. "No worries, Mrs. Garnet. We'll be able to rent this easy," the young man with the fluorescent mobile phone had said. "Miss Garnet," she had explained, anxious not to accept a title to which she felt she had never managed to rise. "Miss, I'm sorry," the young man had said, trying not to laugh. He'd heard from the caretaker that there had been another old girl living with her who had just died, probably Leslie's, he thought. Miss Garnet was not a lesbian, any more than Harriet Josephs had been. "It is very vexing," Harriet had said once, when a widowed friend had opined that Jane Austen might have been gay, "to be considered homosexual just because one hasn't been lucky enough to marry." Or foolish enough, Julia had added. But privately, she believed Harriet was right. It would have been a piece of luck to have been loved by a man enough to have been his wife. "Where are you off to, then?" the young estate agent had asked. Across Miss Garnet's memory paraded the several coloured advertisements for far-flung places which, along with some magazine cuttings concerning unsuitable hair dye, she had cleared from Harriet's oak bureau, and which she had recently placed in the dustbin. "Venice," she announced firmly. "I shall be taking 6 months in Venice. And then, because it is rarely possible at a stroke to throw off the habits of a lifetime, I believe it is...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?